Ladies and gentlemen, on March 31st, a resident of my district, 22-year-old Anthony Alvarez, was killed. He was shot 5 times in the back as he ran during a foot chase with the Chicago Police Department. The body camera footage of this killing was released yesterday. I haven't watched it out of respect for the family. There may be those in this chamber or those who are watching this today who rushed to watch this video to see what was he doing, how did he run, what was he hiding. I would urge you to check that impulse, friends. There may be those who rush to look at his record, to see if he had any outstanding warrants. Was he a model citizen? Did he have affiliations? Was he hanging with a bad crowd? I would urge you, please, to check that impulse, friends, and to ask yourselves where it comes from. I don't know Anthony's story. No one in this room does. But we don't believe in capital punishment here in Illinois. Not after a trial by jury, and certainly not after a trial by an officer in the street. And there's nothing you can do, no record on your background, no affiliations, no history, nothing you can do to deserve being shot in the back while you run. Let me repeat that. There is nothing Anthony could have done to deserve the fate that befell him on March 31st. Instead of looking to Anthony to explain what happened, friends, I would urge us in this chamber to look in the mirror. Why are we here again, mourning another young Latino taken by those meant to protect him, meant to protect us? Why are we here again? And what can we do so that we don't have to keep doing this? Many of us in this room have ideas about why and what we can do. I want to share one that I think we can all agree on. It's an idea that I've heard from the most radical activists and organizers, and that I've heard from rank-and-file Chicago police officers. It's the simple notion that we are asking the police to do too much. We ask the police to do too much in society. It's an impossible task. We send armed officers who are trained in lethal violence to respond to homelessness, to public indecency, to noise complaints, to mental health incidents, to bad driving, to falling asleep in the Wendy's drive-thru. With that many interactions every single day, with armed officers who are trained that each of those interactions could be a matter of life or death, it's inevitable that some of them will escalate to violence and tragedy. This is not an indictment of any bad apples, but rather of the very role that we have given to law enforcement, a role that they didn't ask for and that they don't want, and a role that leads inexorably to the kind of tragedy that we mourn yet again today. I said confidently a moment ago that I think we can all agree on this concept, because just last week, this chamber unanimously passed House Bill 2784, CESA, which creates mental health first responders in the state of Illinois to send unarmed behavioral health professionals to calls for nonviolent misdemeanors. This is an amazing bill. I thank Representative Cassidy for this initiative. And I believe it's a first step toward our recognizing that we need to transform the role of police, that we need to only send armed officers trained in lethal violence only to those rare instances where force is needed to prevent greater tragedy, that we can aspire to a world where that's the exception and not the rule. I congratulate this body on its bipartisan recognition of this principle. There are some that might worry that this kind of transformation might lead to fewer police in our communities and therefore less safety. I would say that those of us who live in safe communities, we don't feel safe because there are police everywhere. We don't feel safe because there are patrol cars and squad cars and cops on every corner. In fact, the safest communities in Illinois are also the least policed communities in Illinois. We feel safe not because of the presence of law enforcement, but because of the presence of economic opportunity, of good jobs, of good schools, of stable housing, and of caring neighbors. As we head into May here, we focus on passing bills and head into the budget season. Let's focus on guaranteeing those things in every community. I think that in this moment of tragedy, that should be our calling, to reimagine the role of police in society and public safety as a whole, and to invest in community so that every community has what it takes to be truly safe. That's our calling as legislators, but today as I close, I feel compelled, I feel called myself to offer some words to the Alvarez family, to my neighbors, my constituents. It's very difficult for me to think of what those words should be. My heart breaks for the losses that you suffered, for the beautiful son and proud father and beloved young man who was taken too soon. I don't have the words to console you during this time. So I'll offer instead the words that those of my faith have consoled ourselves with for thousands of years. I know if he were here, our former colleague, Rabbi Kalish, would be saying these words himself. It's a prayer we call the Mourner's Kaddish. And the prayer ends like this. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Which means, may the source of all peace in the universe send peace to us and to all our people. And together we say, Amen. I ask the body, Madam Speaker, for a moment of silence for Anthony and for his family. Thank you.
Members, we will take a moment of silence.